This Dark Wolf series podcast is brought to you by Bravo Company Manufacturing.
Thank you for your service.
Is it that obvious?
I need 2 shooters for a time-sensitive album. I'm offering you a chance to finish what you started.
Laws of engagement?
Flexible.
Person we wanted for, but we were all like, well, do you think Robert Wisdom will do this kind of a thing? Like, because you were like, for all of us, we're like, oh, like, this is such an amazing actor and seems like such a great guy, but we're like, will he do this? And then it worked out and you did it.
Thank you for your service.
Gratitude. Is it that obvious?
Well, we tend to stick out in places like this.
Mary Vernew, we've been friends. She's hired me for movies early on. And when Dark Wolf came around, she said to my manager, and they've known each other for years, she says, I really want Bob to do this part. And then I got the first script, and I was like, oh man, this, the second script actually. And I saw that opening meeting with Ben and Jed.
Thank you for your service. For the drinks.
I know your team clipped those zip ties.
What'd you say?
Staging that scene at Alger Boys. That's a pro move.
And at that point, the script it was like almost a 8-page monologue. I mean, a lot of stuff was cut down. But when I read that, I said, holy crap, this got weight,
Your agency.
Look, I need 2 shooters for a time-sensitive album. What you did to Alger Boy tells me that you're willing to do what it takes to make an actual difference. And I find that exciting.
And I liked the guy. I liked that he was old, crusty, veteran, had been around forever. Didn't know how cagey he was, but we find out that this dude was like seriously cagey and knew how that dark world worked, And so Jed has really emerged as like a real special thing in my life,
Oh.
Everybody who's seen it has been loving the show. And I mean, I think, I just got a call from my agent who she said Amazon is considering putting me up for the NAACP award.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like, it was a chance. I've been waiting for a role like this forever, where I was in there pulling equal weight with the leads, and I knew that, when I talked to Dave said, Dave had been watching me work for a while. And he said, you got the qualities I want in Jed. You have an easy smile, you can go back and forth and you can seduce people, and blah, 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 but just a lot of things like lined up. And it worked.
Oh man, so good.
So either you work with me now, do right by the job, and you get a fast track back to the teams, and an honorable discharge.
And we're so excited to have you on board. And then you exceeded expectations at every turn. And it's so good. I was back from book tour for Cry Havoc. But what everybody wanted to talk about was Dark Wolf.
Oh, wow,
Excited
great.
about Dark Wolf. Yeah, it was like sold out venues and all that, and although I like doing questions and from the audience more than anything else, because then I know that at least one person is interested in what I have to say. I don't like
Right,
getting
right, right,
talking.
right.
I like doing questions back and forth and having it be more of a interaction type of a thing. And everybody wanted to talk about Dark Wolf and is there a season two and that oh hey,
I
so
know people
they
want the
loved it.
season two. I'd say, no, that's not possible.
Well, you being behind,
You're
I,
right,
this
exactly.
could be full
But
of
True
spoilers.
Believer, everybody talks about Tom. People love Tom, you know, and so they're gonna get a nice setting with him.
This is
Uh,
true.
yeah,
This is
True
true.
Believer. Yeah.
Especially, they loved that second episode. The ladies, especially when Tom gets out of that pool to talk to you. Uh, for
Yeah.
some reason, that's my wife's favorite episode. I don't
Is
know.
that right? Is that right? Oh yeah, they cite they because he's like a James Bond kind of guy.
I mean, he's in some good shape, that guy.
He's in good shape.
It's
He's in
just
good
all the
shape.
shame.
And when you see how he eats, then you know how he works out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. He is
Because the boy can eat,
He's dedicated, that guy. Oh,
Yeah, he's for real.
incredible. But yeah,
Yeah,
everybody loved Tom Hopper as Rafe, and that was one that, of course, is from the book. So people have these expectations, and he's a
right.
fan favorite character. So it's like, oh geez, and Tom was a little nervous about it at first, and he just crushed it. I mean, there's
He
been
crushed it.
100% across the board, from what I've seen anyway, as far as fan reaction, just loving his portrayal of Rafe. So that
Oh,
was
beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful.
that was pretty cool. But yeah, I didn't know. So you read, so I didn't know you connected with Jed so much right off the bat from reading that second iteration of the script. That is really cool.
Yeah, no, it was all there. And I mean the fact that uh it was written for an older guy. And, I was coming to terms with being older and what happens to your career at that point. You're playing dads or professors or lawyers, that sort of thing. Um, but this one was three-dimensional. This was a guy whose mind was working, and that's the kind of character I wanted to be. A guy who was not you know, just trading plot points, but he was actually running the story, you know,
Yeah.
and that to me was exciting.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I started. I got the script as early as I could. After you guys said yes, and I just started learning the lines because I said this is something. So that was like almost 3 months out,
Yeah.
and I just start every day. I was running the lines, running the lines, running the lines, and because I wanted this to come from the belly, I didn't want this to be a thing that you come in with and you just are saying the words or whatever. I know I bring something good to it, but this was something that was pushing me,
Uh,
and really establishing my music. When I've watched I've watched a lot of guys, from Denzel, Sam Jackson, Cheadle, all these guys over the years, and I knew my game was as tight as theirs, you know, but I just hadn't had the chance to sing. Um, and this was a guy that could sing, and I love when we got to the twist, which I guess we'll talk about in the interview.
yeah, yeah. Well, this is spoilers. It's already come out, so this is the one of the first lines on this thing is that there are spoilers in this. This is behind the scenes, like
This
that.
is yeah,
So, don't watch this first and then watch the show. Watch the show
exactly.
first and then watch this. So
Exactly,
but you're
exactly.
like your character is because I was in I'm writing these scripts, I'm editing these scripts, I'm involved with it from the outset. So and I find this with the novels too, is that I'm not sure if someone's going to figure something out if they're a first time reader or a first time viewer,
Right,
because we're living with it. We know how it's going.
right,
As the writers, and in the novels, it's just me. Like I know I'm living with the thing for a year and a half, so I know the twist. And so
right,
in my mind, I'm like, does I give it up too early? And every time my editor says, no, you need to add a couple more things in there, a couple little breadcrumbs, that so the reader can go, aha, I can't believe that I didn't see that earlier. Like that
right,
can you want, not like, where
right.
did that come from?
Where'd
That's
that come from?
yeah, you don't want
Oh,
that.
beautiful. Yeah,
So
that's how you avoid that.
yeah,
Lay the
exactly.
breadcrumbs. Okay, got it.
Exactly.
Because I noticed, my one of my oldest friends, after he saw the first episode, um, and he said, "Man, I can't tell if you are a mastermind or if you're a bad guy or a good guy. I have no idea, but a whole lot of stuff is in this, you know."
Interesting.
And he wrote that out. My nephew said by the second episode, he says, "What is going on with it? Something's happening with you. You know, you're great, but there's something going on." And so those were the two that picked up the one of something about the breadcrumb. They couldn't name it specifically,
Perfect.
but
That,
they were like, "This guy is full, you know.
that's it.
This is an anything goes kind of guy, you know."
Oh,
So
that's great. That is
yeah,
great because that's the reaction that you want. That is fantastic. And
yeah,
what I love about you, like, because when I watched it, I try to put myself in the viewer's shoes, and when I read the scripts, I try to pretend that I'm a first time like reader, but I'm playing it in my head as a
right.
viewer, and I'm thinking, would I know how this is going to end up at the beginning? And you don't think so because a lot of people think that the CIA operates in the shadows anyway, and so you have some
Anyway,
moral ambiguity going on there anyway. So you can
right.
go with that moral ambiguity and not find out and not suspect that he's actually, a bad guy until we reveal it. So
Exactly,
what I love
exactly.
about what you brought to it is you brought this like you said, you have this smile, this charm. You've been recruiting people for decades to do things. So you have that side of it. It's almost like a salesman side of it when you're recruiting
Right,
somebody for
right,
the
right.
agency. But then you're the most dangerous person in the room, even being like older than Tom Hopper and Taylor Kitsch in their characters who are right off the battlefield. Like you have this thing, even with that smile and everything else, where I think the viewer can see like, oh, the most dangerous man in the room is Jed Haverford.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
that's what I learned in the shooting while we were shooting it. To trust that. And a good friend of mine, she said, "I really love that you're being a mentor like this." You know, so she was looking at the mentorship
mm,
of breaking these guys in, and that was perfect. That's exactly, I wanted to be these guys, his guide, their guide into, the dark side.
yeah,
But it covered everything about my motives and where I was headed, So nobody looked at me as like they just figured, oh, he's an experienced CIA guy, you know, but they didn't know that there was an operation going on.
yeah, yeah,
And I love when we got to the boat. Well, we'll get there,
yeah, yeah.
when we got to the boat and all that stuff in the boat. And they walked out not knowing
Yeah,
what was really going on.
right.
And a buddy of mine wrote a long piece to me, said, You, when you came out of that back room, there were so many emotions rippling through your face. You were just on the edge of breaking. Weren't sure if when Ben walks up to me and says this can go one or two ways,
Mm,
and he just said physically your body was going through these changes and in your face, and then finally you pulled it all together, but you could see that you were about to break, and that was the first time that Jed had ever been pushed this far emotionally.
My assets sent me bullshit intel. As soon as I heard about Eliza, I contacted Mossad. I let them know that the Shepard had used us.
Used you for what?
The bearings in that briefcase. They're not the same as Molnar's, are they? Ask yourself why they're different.
And that's why when went into the room, he just sort of like, he got a cigarette in his mouth and he just decided, I own this now.
Wahid Rahimi, the shepherd, was supposed to lead his flock to the west. His brothers, Kudosh.
All the actions that we see from that point on were just about how rogue Jed had gone and how rogue he really was.
As for Elisa,
And I don't think Ben and Rafe called his shot. Rafe was already broken.
Mhm.
Um, and when he saw what went on in that room, it just finished him.
Yeah.
But Jed always knew that Ben was ruthless like him, that he was a dark horse. He was a dark wolf also.
Yeah.
And the way I've always looked at it is that there were two dark wolves. There was Ben and there was Jed. And they were both in their own ways working way outside the system.
Right.
And he knew that could be Ben's Achilles heel. So Jed exploited that anytime he could. No, I can go on about this show. I
Yeah.
love this show, man.
Oh, so I love it. I love it. And it all comes when you actually say that in that final scene with you and Ben.
says a motherfucker who's willing to unleash the wrath of ISIS on the civilians of Mosul by killing Alger Boy. Don't come into my house and lecture me. I've watched you. There ain't a bridge you won't burn, a rule you won't break, or a command you won't question to get what you know is right. You and I are the fucking same.
And my wife and I watched episodes 5, 6, and 7 again a few nights ago, and just we hadn't watched them together yet because I was off
Right,
True Believer, and then I was on book tour and all that stuff.
right,
So I
right,
didn't
right,
see the last two, so we watched the last three together the other night. And that scene on the boat is, you're right, like that. I never had it stood out because you're coming out, you're walking out of that room, and I can only imagine what was happening in Jed's head before he opens the door to walk out to not confront the team, be confronted essentially by the team,
right,
because that's a
right,
different that's a switch of the dynamic essentially. And then you have to bring them back. And it's a remarkable scene. And you're right, that body language, your face, everything else, and it's the first time you're pushed and been in that position.
right,
It's quite something. um, but your relationship with Ben from
right,
the page and then into working together for all those months that we were in Budapest.
right.
What was that like for you, that relationship with Ben, recruiting somebody, essentially using somebody for what ends up being your own end game? What was that like, that relationship, and how it evolved throughout the season?
Well, it really, in the beginning, I always looked at those guys as pups, even though they were top of the line SEALs. But I knew the water that I was recruiting them into was way bigger
Mm,
than the very regulated world of the SEALs, you know. And I knew that they would be a team. They were coming in as a team, but I knew that the one that I really was going to work was Ben. So when it's almost kind of like I had in my own office, a board with all of their qualities and different candidates that I was going to look at. Looking at Ben, looking at Rafe, um, Ben pushed he was green on all of them. Out of 12 points, he met 12 points. So I know what I needed out of this guy was somebody who could be my ignition. He could be the fuse that could blow, carry out what I wanted to. I could live through him in a way. When we got to the bar, I already knew everything I needed to know. Um, and it was so brilliantly written because I didn't show my hand at all, you know, and it was just a friendly drink.
Carry on.
Let's hang, and then let's lower, the first step, knowing that he would walk through and try to get to the meat. Rafe was like, "What the fuck? Now I want to go home.
yep.
I'm ready to go home."
I don't need the night.
But I knew that their bond was going to work for me.
Yeah.
And I knew, so so when we got to that place where, and it was a line that was just thrown in on the rooftop.
Rules of engagement.
Flexible.
How long's the job?
It's such a great line. And of course,
Right.
the trailer, the teaser, like it's all over the place. That line is so good. And then Ben's face after that, after you say flexible, and he goes to his face, and it's just, not it's like there's such a subtle little change and not even a real nod, but just kind of like this understanding and acceptance and like
Exactly.
a yes. It's so great. I
Exactly.
love that. I love that.
And that's where that was the hook 'em. And that's when I started to, I mean, Taylor is fantastic in this, man.
So good. So good. I mean,
Taylor is so good, I don't know what people are saying about him. I'm sure you've heard all the
oh
stuff.
yeah, they love it and love him. I mean, always so good. But that's the reason we have this, because on the page when I wrote in the terminal list, he was such a one-dimensional character, and I wish I could, like all the books, I could go back and make them better going back, but they're the best I could do at the time. That's always
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the best I could do at the time. But that one in particular, what Taylor brought to the role, what happened in the writer's room was really good. But what Taylor brought to that role in the terminal list, that empathy and compassion and the reasoning behind what he did, which I did not have in the book,
Right.
that was elevated it from the page well beyond anything I imagined. I wish I had thought that up for the book, is it's
Yeah,
so much better. And that's the reason we got Dark Wolf, is just because of Taylor's performance. And he carries that over into Dark Wolf with, I mean, absolute perfection. It's just a,
absolute, absolute. I mean, that scene where he's talking to his wife and he breaks, he just goes off, smashes the phone and the whole thing.
What's that mean? You can't do this anymore.
I'm sorry.
It's government property, Chief.
Apologies.
And again, Jed just shows he didn't just show up. Ben, he'd been tracking. He was tracking Ben, each night, every day.
Amy Edwards. Wife number 3. USC grad, realtor, volleyball player. That's a hell of a catch for a frogman who barely finished high school.
Whether it was a fight on the rooftop, which it played out with the way we shot it, when Rona confronts
Landry.
yeah, Landry. And then I shout something from the downstairs. I'm glad they cut that out, because it was really about me being aware of what's going on, but not stepping in. Letting them play out, see where the lines were drawn. I needed to constantly see where the lines were drawn. I knew that Rafe was going to be an anchor for Ben all the time, trying to pull him to the, back to, the side of integrity, moral integrity. But I wanted to see what they saw in Landry. I knew who Landry was, I knew what I needed him for, but I also knew he's a wild card too.
Yeah.
Rona and Mossad, that's Mossad. But I didn't think they were going to twist our operation. So that's when the walls started getting funny.
Right.
When Mossad was exerting their pressure and their stuff on our operation, Rafe is pulling at Ben. Dar had a very, very profound impact on Jed.
I'm here because of that man. Assalamu alaikum, Jed.
Wa alaikum salam.
Good to see you, sir.
Yeah, I've worked with Mo since the 90s. I was training him in the Peshmerga.
Yes, sir.
And who do you think I called for your references? Huh? Let's see.
Dar, I love this guy legitimately.
Oh,
You know,
good.
I mean, he was my guy. But I couldn't reveal to him at all what I was up to.
Yeah.
And so because of that, the respect, the honor that he had for Jed and our experience together, it was like he was in a sense, you know how parents can be their influence when a kid is going out and they're smoking and they're doing bad stuff, and
Yeah.
they think, when my parents catch me, if they ever, find out. I felt kind of, that's what I felt from Dar's presence. Very silent, but very, very morally strong.
Yeah.
And he played that to it. He played that,
So good. So good.
incredible. Yeah.
I just love Dar, and everybody's become like a family. It's so everyone is such a great cast and crew, just incredible. And then we got Michael Early-ish for like just a little bit, but I love his character.
I love
He's
what
an
he
amazing
did.
actor, just
So
a
how
great
did that
guy.
come up? How did that come up?
I think we needed somebody that we wanted someone that had the gravitas to come in that people wouldn't think we would kill off, type of a
Ah,
thing. Like,
gotcha.
you're not going to put Michael Early in this thing and just use him for a few
Right,
minutes and kill him off. Like, he's going to be in this thing, type of a deal.
right, right. That's what it was.
So we wanted somebody like that, that you wouldn't say, "Oh, that's the fourth guy that gets beamed down in Star Trek with the red shirt."
Exactly.
Says, "Captain, over here, I found something." Like, you need someone that they're not gonna think is gonna do that, and to have him jump in with us was so cool.
Yeah,
I actually had him in mind for another Hollywood project that I have going in. I'm trying to bring it back so I can turn it into a book first. But
right.
he's such a great guy. I wish we had him for longer, but
I know. I mean, our only interaction was, getting out the car pretty much, and then,
yeah,
with the group stuff. But that also was a major, vortice for Jed,
yeah,
because here's a guy, they fought side by side together,
right,
and to think that I didn't expect to have him put on the line. I was there. I say Jed.
yeah,
Jed was looking at Ish as an extension of him. He would pretty much be the field officer, and kind of run these guys when they were out in the field. And he just took that one wrong suit move and got caught.
yeah. Oh, I know. I wish he could have stayed with us for longer, but he played his part to
He
perfection.
played his part to perfection.
This Q&A is brought to you by Staccato. All right, this one's from Facebook from Michael Andrenko. Oh, that's a good name. I might use that as a character name. Some guy. Have to be a bad guy, though. So that's a good one. And this says, Dark Wolf was absolutely brilliant. Thank you. I hope there is a second season, as do I. What does it take to keep these stellar actors on various projects such as The Terminalist and Dark Wolf with their own schedules and other projects to get them together for the Jack Carr series? And yes, that is a thing. That is certainly a thing. Actors' schedules do play into these. There's some people that even read for parts and have other projects pop up, or another offer comes in, or they're committed somewhere else and we're not exactly sure of our filming dates yet. All of that stuff comes into play big time. So when I hear someone say, "Why didn't you get so-and-so?" And I've heard it not just for my projects, but for a slew of movies. And I thought it too when I was a kid growing up. Why didn't they get so-and-so to play character X, Y, or Z? Well, there's probably a host of reasons, and now I know that scheduling is certainly one of them. So, and the actor might not be interested in doing the part. If you have that person in mind for something and you reach out and ask them and they could not be interested, might not be enough money involved, or they're committed elsewhere, family issues, all the first normal stuff in regular life come into play when you're casting. So we've got extremely fortunate that we have Chris Pratt, who is so deeply committed to this series and to this universe, and to get guys like Tom Hopper and Luke Hemsworth in here, Taylor Kitsch, who really want to make this happen, block off time in their schedules, and then once they sign on, then they're committed for a certain amount amount of time. And so obviously they can't go out and do other projects during that time. But scheduling is a thing, especially if you're not rolling from one season right into the next, because you have names that have other commitments out there. So you can't just do season 2 of The Terminal List right on the heels of filming the first one, because Chris Pratt has to do movies and other things going on out there. So anyway, it just takes a bit of coordination.
Well, I was wondering when you show up.
And your performance the whole time is so nuanced and so fantastic. No one could have done it better. It's so I absolutely love it. But let's jump to the end, because it came about not at the end. It came about in I think it was May. I get out to Budapest and we're having dinner with Dave DiGilio, Max Adams, number 2 in the writers' room, amazing guy, former Army Ranger, and
Right.
his family.
And his family.
And we have and we're at dinner. And I don't know if people know this. This is behind the scenes, but in the script, Ben Edwards kills Jed Haverford at the end, like kind
Right.
of cleans it up,
Right.
everything up in
Right.
that final confrontation.
I see you found my pistol.
And we're at dinner, and you've gotten to know Max and his family so much, and they look up to you, and you guys are family,
We're
a
family.
family, and we're at dinner, and Max's son says, "I don't think that Jed should die at the end." And we're like this. We're all at the dinner table, right down the street from the Four Seasons at that place.
Wait, 11 years old.
11 years old, and we're all like this. Our first reaction is this. Wait, what?
Right.
That is the reason that Jed Haverford lives at
Exactly,
the end. Is Max's
exactly.
son. And it was so cool. We thought, wait a second, really? Because we're in that, and it's so great because it differentiates that Ben character from the James Reese character in the Terminal List series, who would have cleaned it up. But this also differentiates the series because we were very cognizant that we wanted to differentiate these two series, one from another.
Exactly.
The Terminal List was so dark, like visually was so dark at the beginning. So we have some stuff in the daytime in Missoula at the beginning of this, and turn this into more of an espionage thriller rather than a conspiracy type of a thriller like the Terminal
Right.
List was. So we want to differentiate these two series from the outset. And
Right.
James Reese would certainly have made a different decision than Ben
And
does.
Ben. Yeah.
And it's so amazing. And it's all because of that dinner and Max's son and him
I
getting
know.
to know you and looking up to you so much and loving you so much that he doesn't want you to die. And
Right.
we're like, wait a second. That is actually more chilling to have a controlled Ben at the end who doesn't act on emotion and
Right.
clean it up like probably everyone expects him to in the audience. But
Right.
it's even more chilling to send you to prison and take that star on the wall away from you.
Exactly. Legacy.
Yeah.
Jed's Achilles heel was he wanted legacy, and he wanted to be known for all he had done. And Ben resisted his own instincts. He resisted going for my jugular. He resisted, going for that gun, which was right there.
Right there.
And it was brilliant
Yeah.
from an 11-year-old kid,
Amazing.
who's actually probably one of the smartest kids I know.
He really is.
He really is.
He really is. He's fantastic.
And he altered the course of that series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the better. It's so amazing where that idea came from. I just love that. I love that story and how it came about and made the show, the ending fit everything that had happened up to that point
Yeah.
so much better. And
Yeah.
none of our headspace was there. None of us had ever brought that up. It was just a given because maybe of the genre, what we've done in the Terminal List, what I do in the books. Typically, James Reese, I have to make up new bad guys every book because typically James Reese kills them all off in the previous one. So I have the character that I know, and then I have to make up bad guys each and every time. So it wasn't even up for discussion. No one had ever even brought that up until Max's son does at that dinner. And then it alters the whole end and makes it such a more fitting ending.
Yeah.
To the series. It's just incredible.
Believe me, I would love to put you down like I did Jabari. But you're not gonna be a star on the wall. You're a number now. A number in an ADX Supermax prison.
Did you have a favorite scene to film over all those months that we were over there?
Oh my
What stands out
God.
to you?
Oh, let me take a half a second. I'll definitely the final scene is definitely on the list. And the one we mentioned before, the boat. Um, but I gotta say, I love Budapest.
Yeah.
And we were on the roof at this beautiful hotel, penthouse, whatever it was, looking over the city that night where we shot the very first recruiting scene.
Yeah.
And I'm running through that whole thing. It's not the same that was on the page because there's been a lot of alters, but it really was the breathtaking nature of being in a European locale,
Mm-hmm.
looking over the city and 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 finding the music that would touch two very different men. Um, and oh, well, of course, I look at it as an extension, the pool scene.
Mm. Yeah.
Friend wants in. Yeah, well, he doesn't know the CIA like I do.
The pool scene was the hardest pull because I knew this kid was like he was he was a foot and a half out of the door.
Yeah.
He wasn't into this, he wasn't into me. Um, and then we got past something is when I start talking about what it's like in that real world
Right.
and how people, systematically just put a wall between you and them until you're totally isolated.
Yep.
You know what happens to men like us in this civilian world, Rafe? The sheep that we once protected and that once admired you. They see your teeth, your claws. God forbid they hear your stories and learn the things you've done. They start to look at you with fear in their eyes. That's first. Then it's pity. Until finally, they don't even look at you at all.
A lot of guys lose it then,
Yeah.
you know. And he and I somehow the words were so just right, and I felt that I met the words, you know, just right. And Tom was incredible to work with because his face was changing throughout. And I was just looking at those moments in his eyes and his face and his demeanor until I felt I got him.
Yeah.
I got him. You know, I
Yeah.
love that scene. Yeah, I really love that scene.
Comparing that scene to the one with Ben and Rafe on the boat after you execute who we think is the shepherd, uh,
Right,
but seeing his face during that scene, also juxtaposing those two scenes where you bring him back in and
right,
where he doesn't go to you to tell you he's leaving, he goes to Ben to tell Ben that he's leaving that night, and to see
right.
them interact in that scene on the boat was pretty powerful.
It was very powerful. Very that.
I'm not here for watch. I'm leaving. And I need you to come with me.
You're gonna ring out right before we finish this mission.
Those two guys are so good
So
because
good.
when I watched them, they held their worlds. They
Mhm.
never ever gave. Uh, they never ever melted into each other. They distinctly were these guys who decided they were going to be comrades and work together and fight together, but they were their own men throughout, their
Yeah.
own value system. And watching Ben have no spiritual and emotional grounding.
Mhm.
When he flipped out, after talking to his wife, you realize, he's got nothing else.
Mhm.
He's got no home life. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, he's great. He's out here grabbing his straws, just trying to make, and so any battlefield is a great battlefield, is a great place for him, and that's where he can be manipulated.
Yeah.
Whereas, Rafe has his father, his family, his homeland,
Mm.
all of these things that grounded him,
Yeah.
in a world. And so I love the way when they would have trade looks. I love that when Ben and the boys went at the plane,
Yeah.
that Rafe stood ground for him. I
Nice.
get chills just thinking about that.
Thank you. That was a good one. Yeah, yeah.
Fair winds, brother.
I get chills just thinking about that, that he to the end,
Yeah.
he
In
was
the
going to show up.
yeah, yeah. Oh, thank you for saying that. I love that. I love that. And I know when I asked you about your favorite scene, I know it must have just slipped your mind for a moment. Our scene together with my cameo at CIA headquarters, where I
That
took
was
your badge,
that
must
was
have
the
been.
greatest. That was the greatest.
I
And
felt
I
like
vowed to you.
I felt like I really pushed you in that scene, and
It
so
was like none other, brother.
it
It
was
was
right
like
there. It was right there.
you were on the point, brother, right at the star. In
Uh,
fact, that's symbolic. You were at the star, the star, the star.
that was fantastic.
You created us.
Sir.
But filming in DC together, that was so much fun. And it was so serious in CIA headquarters that day for them to let us use the lobby with that memorial wall, with the wall of
Exactly.
stars that you had talked about in the series already. And now you're there standing in front of that, walking
Yeah,
out with the guy behind you, carrying all the stuff from your desk.
right.
And you stand there and you look at that wall, and there's so much respect right there when you look at that wall as you're leaving for the last time. And I know the CIA, they appreciated that too, because that's something very very special and sacred
Yeah,
to everybody who's worked
yeah,
there. And the way you honored that while still playing that part, I think it's just remarkable, just
yeah.
remarkable.
It was special. And to I was so worried about crossing the seal, you
Mhm.
know, because all the folks who worked there said, no, you walk around it until you're ready to leave. And if you leave, you cross the seal for the last time. And I was like, I kind of loaded up on that whew, this was 20, 25 years. Uh, and Jed was leaving and crossing the seal, and that they would allow us to shoot that, you
Yeah,
know. And the people who worked there, who were with us all day and were trading stories, and they were surprised to find out that there was a guy there who has a podcast about cases, and I was listening to it religiously, on the lead up to this, and then I told him about it. He said, "That's me. That's my show. You really like that?"
that's awesome.
I said, "Man, I loved it, man." And he had no idea who was listening, So we had a nice exchange about that, but it helped me a lot to understand that world. But to walk across that seal and to look at that wall, to look at that wall uh it gave real meaning to the show that we were shooting. It wasn't a normal show. It wasn't just another series. Everybody who came in contact with this script and this story felt the importance. And going back to uh uh Ben and Rafe, they they gave it a nuclear kind of force at the core. So it made it important, and I felt that, me being part of that trio, we were telling something big
Yeah,
about what people go through running the world, doing these things that nobody ever sees. Nobody knows. As we speak, there's something happening in Europe,
yeah.
of different, what do we call them? The tram lines. What do we call
The
them?
upstream disruptions.
Upstream disruptions that are going on everywhere. that just looks like pops in the universe,
Yeah, and we'll never
Yeah.
find out about them unless something goes horribly wrong. But they're
Yeah,
out there right now, allowing us to be here doing this and having this
exactly.
conversation
Right.
together, and filming there in DC. We got to do go to the Vietnam Memorial, be there on the mall between
Yes.
the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Memorial, and I love those scenes with you there. And that was so cool to be there with you. And then we got to fly together back to Budapest to finish up those last couple
Right.
weeks. But that was really good. And you grew up around there, right? So you're back
That was my
hometown.
hometown. DC is my family was there that day. That's my hometown. And you know, I didn't know if we were gonna pull it off because we flew there for one day.
Crazy, crazy.
But going down to see the Vietnam Memorial and standing in front of it and searching through, names. Um, God, as I talk about it, it's like that was Jed's period. Was Vietnam and the madness of Vietnam, uh, and that was the seed. And he goes back to look at the seed that he has now grown into. His take on the world grew out of those moments in Vietnam. Gary Owen, First Cav is the first group in, and he wanted to be recognized, but he couldn't be recognized, and so as we're standing there, people are walking by and so forth. It's just another a powerful visual thing that the show came up with, so many of them, so many of them. Yeah, there are a lot of scenes. I can't even recall. I have to go back all the time, but I will tell you that last scene that you guys wrote on the hop, because basically it was going in, as you say, in another direction, and then you came back and boom, put something together where what I was just alluding to, he puts into words, you know.
Vietnam. Over 58,000 dead. And all we have to show for it are scars on an entire generation. And I thought we'd learn from it. I thought we'd take those lessons and apply them in Lebanon. But my first year in Beirut, shit. Embassy bombing, kidnappings, assassinations. I mean, it was the fucking Wild West. But behind every single outlaw, there was one benefactor: Iran. But then came the big one. The Marine barracks bombing, October 1983. One of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history took out the barracks and the HQ. The Corps hadn't lost that many men in a single day since Iwo Jima. And yet, we still did nothing.
That when he talks about Lebanon and the things that we missed, the things we could have learned and things we could have applied, and having a different world, and you start to sympathize with the guy because there's a lot of truth in it. We don't know who's making those decisions, but we know they're not good decisions. And the bureaucracy and all of those things that choke off good actions, um, that somebody would try to take it on themselves to write that is mad and inspiring, in a strange way, and that's what made the character, that's what made Jed Haverford, a larger than life character. And I think that's what I appreciated about Taking Her. I didn't know it was there when I first read the script, but as we went through it, I realized the larger than life thing has everything in it, the good and the bad. It's there's nothing clear about it, but it's not gray. You know, he wasn't a gray man.
Yeah, yeah,
He
very true.
wasn't a gray man.
And my wife has heard me say those things about Vietnam and Beirut and lessons learned so many times over the years. And I got to write that last episode with David DiGilio, the showrunner, who's just incredible. But we watched that together, and she turns to me when you're saying those words. She's like, Oh, uh-huh. I've heard that before. I'm like, wait a second, am I Jed Haverford? I'm
That's
like, oh
right.
no, I gotta reevaluate some things.
That's right. That's right. Am I living with? Hey, man, look, your work is fantastic. I mean, your body of work, your work on this, it's been fantastic having these. We would have these little exchanges, during the shoot. Um, I want to say I wish we could do it again. I don't know, but
I know, we've got to do something. And
This Q&A is brought to you by Huxworks. This is from Jason Arrington. Also a great last name there. I'm going to have to use that one too. Will there be a live action version of Cry Havoc? Oh, if you heard part of the podcast I did with Chris Pratt, we talk about that. We certainly hope so. You never know, though. You never know. So we're ready to pitch it. We have a story built out, and by the time this airs, we will have pitched it. So we shall see. Once again, hopeful.
I wanted to thank you for being so kind to my son at the premiere. He was so excited to meet you. And as soon as we walked into the plaza and he saw you, he was like, is that the guy from Prison Break? Because that's his generation, like he's that. He was 14, he just turned 15, but he was so excited to see you and knew you immediately and just
he's a
zoomed
good
right
dude,
on you.
man. You had a good time hanging out with him.
That was so much fun. So, but I really appreciate how kind you were to
Oh,
him.
no doubt, no doubt.
It made his year. So he was
All
more
right.
excited to see you than anybody else. Don't tell Pratt that though.
My lips are
Yeah.
sealed.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Were you a sprinter in college? Did I read that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I ran the 2 and the 4.
Dang. Was
Yep.
that something you could have gone on to do to do in the Olympics or something like that? Or was
Yeah,
that
I was running at that level. And it was before they had pro track. So you had to determine where your money was going to come from if you got a sponsor, So but I ran international a lot and had some good times, and I'm still a big fan of the sport. In fact, I'm taking my sister to Beijing
nice?
next year so we see the World Championships.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Wow.
yeah.
And then is around that time, are you acting in college at the same time?
No, 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 no. Acting was not even on the horizon. I was pretty much going to law school. I was history and economics major, and my whole thing was going to Yale or Harvard, for law school. And my last semester, I took a acting course just to fill out my schedule and had a lot of fun. And the teacher came up to me and said, the professor, and said, you could be good at this. And I was like, look, I just want a passing grade. Give me a C. Let me get out. And but the bug bit me. So I deferred my law school for a year, and I worked on Wall Street, and I was taking acting lessons at night at HB Studios, and it just kept growing and growing, and everybody was telling me, you could be good at this. But I didn't have any contacts. I didn't know how to break into, the business. I mean, I, my family's Jamaican. They don't know anything about, doing something like this. They were planning your son's going to be a lawyer or a doctor, that's it. And but I kept going, and then I had one. Michael Moriarty was this great actor back in the 70s, 80s, and he was teaching in New York. And he taught out of his apartment on Park Avenue. And I was taking his course. He says, and he pushed me. He said, look, just jump off the edge and take a chance. And at that time, this writer, I had been about 4 or 5 years at on Wall Street, and then I went to my other full-time job was working at NPR, and I was doing that, and a friend of mine called from Lexington, Virginia, who had a summer theater, and he said, "Bob, I'm writing a play, and I don't know if you ever thought about acting, but I keep seeing you as a lead to play this revolutionary Toussaint Louverture and this Haitian play at his summer theater, and also to do some Shakespeare and all that." And he wrote the play for me. Uh, I said yes, and uh, I had the best summer of my life. and we did plays, night and day, and Shakespeare one day. We had a great ensemble of this bluegrass band and these great singers who wrote all the music for it. People were coming into the theater. It was an outdoor theater, Limekiln Theater in Lexington, Virginia, and it was the best summer of my life. And I was married recently, and I was like, my wife was like, well, what are we gonna do with this? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. What happened to that doctor lawyer thing?
Right. What about the doctor lawyer? And I kind of like my boat was going out in the water. And I followed it, and I wound up going. I took a job in London um, at the Institute of Contemporary Art, and I started as their artistic director. And then, my second year there, I got a call to do a play. They were looking for an American actor, and somebody said Bob Wisdom said he had done some acting, and they called me up and they offered me this great play called Millfire. And so I rearranged my office so my assistant could run things while I was at rehearsal, and then I'd come in at night to open the show, and then when our show opened, I'd be there during the day, and then I go to the theater at night, and I got an agent out of it. I got in the British Union, and so I started acting, and that's how it happened. Then I did a few other plays in England and toured around. And I had left my job after 5 years, and my marriage, not incidentally, but my marriage, we kind of separated, and that was it. We're best friends now, but yeah, that was the beginning. That's how it started. And then when I came back to the States in 90. So I've been in London almost 10 years. Um, and I came back to the States to take care of my dad because with my mom because he was in Alzheimer's, and so I was about to go back to England, and it was the first time my mom ever, said because I had been a globetrotter for years, and she said, "I just kind of want you in this country, not across the water." So of course but I didn't know what I was going to do because I had all my 10 years in England, my life had been there. Friend of mine called me from Los Angeles, who was an opera director, and he was doing a big music festival. I mean, a big arts festival. And he said, uh, "Bob, I want you to do the music program for the festival." I said, "Well, I'm kind of acting these days. I'm not doing." And he said, "Look, come to LA. You can work here. You don't have to wait tables or anything. You can learn the city." So I took it up, and I moved to LA with a salary and learned the city and put on this festival. But while I was doing it, I got a call from a friend who said we were supposed to have lunch, and I called him up, and he said, "Look, somebody just left a number on my machine looking for an actor, uh, and you had been doing that in London. I don't know what you were doing, but take the number." So I took the number, and I'm looking at it thinking, what is this? I didn't know porno or what. I didn't know what it was. So, but I called, and the assistant called me back and said, uh, I said, "Look, I've just been in LA, like 3 weeks. I'm not in the union. I don't have an agent, but I'm really an actor. I worked in England for years." And so he took the number, and then the casting director actually called me back, and she was looking for an actor for this film. So she said, "Come down and let me read you." So I drove across LA in the rain and went into her office, and I read. She said, "Oh, you're good." Uh, and the next week she took me into the producers, and it was Richard and Lily Zanuck who had just done Jaws, and they had also done Glory. So all the guys from Glory were in this waiting room, and when I saw that movie back in England, I said, "Wow, I want to be with those guys. They're having fun." And I walked in. I did the reading. Lily liked it. She said, "I didn't realize it was this funny." And they offered me the part. They Taft-Hartleyed me in the union. She found me an agent, and I've been working ever since. Through a wrong number. you know.
That's crazy. And how does that all lead to let's say The Wire?
Oh, well, The Wire was a few years later. My first film was Clean Slate. The next one was Face Off with John Travolta and Nick Cage. And so I kind of I went up for The Wire initially when they were looking for folks. I went up for Stringer Bell. Everybody was going up for Stringer Bell. You know, it was the sexiest role. It was, and I had that idea that that was me. You know, but I also got for this when David and those guys first read me, it was for a series called The Corner, and I had taken I got that part, but I turned it down to do another film that we were improvising, and it was, you know, but they remembered me, so I was off doing the Ray Charles movie down in New Orleans, and they called my manager and they said they wanted to offer me this part. So I was like, wow, they, you know, where'd that come from? You know, that was almost a year and a half, 2 years later. And so they sent me the script and I read the part in season two. And but I had already been a fan of the show. And so I talked to David and I didn't have to audition. They just offered me the part of Bunny Colvin. And didn't know where the character was going, didn't know how long it was, but it turned out to be one of the greatest things in my life, was to play that role. And yeah, it was the greatest thing in my life. And now Jed Haverford is right beside it.
That's right. And tell Jed Havenford that was the
Right.
greatest show of your life.
Jed Haverford is right there now, you
Oh
know.
man, that's amazing. It's so interesting how that happens. I mean, my experience in Hollywood is very slim, obviously, but it's interesting how both, I guess all three shows now, we've had people that read for something, but then we remembered or we said, you know what, they're not right for this part, but they would be amazing for this part. Let's reach out and see if they'll do it, type of a thing. So
Exactly.
yeah, this is
Exactly.
for young actors, especially like auditioning for everything because someone will remember you at some point.
That's the thing
Remember that kid that came in for X, Y, or Z? You know,
that's
he's
it.
awesome, but he just wasn't quite right for this thing, but he would be awesome for this other thing.
Exactly.
I mean, it was so much fun getting to know you and have you be part of this thing. It was like when we heard that you wanted to do it, we're like, yes, amazing. And then to get to know you over the last, you know, those months and months and months that we were filming in Budapest, and then to come back to the hotel and be able and hang out together in the
And
bar
hang out
there
together,
with
the
the
hangouts.
with the olives and the nuts and the stuff and a couple
I-
drinks. And it was awesome. I have such great memories of that. And I sincerely appreciate you being so wonderful because it filters down. It does filter down to everybody on that set, and you set
yeah.
that tone, you know, and so to have everybody on that set be just so invested in it because there is this just positive vibe coming up from the top on down to everyone else. It's just remarkable. People come up to me on set all the time and tell me how much they appreciate that, and that's due to you, your attitude, everything you bring that there every day, and then after hours being able to hang out together and get to know each other. It was a true
I,
pleasure, a true
Man,
honor.
that's so kind of you. Thank you for saying that, man. Yeah, that's, you know, I really, you know, this has been a peak experience for me, this whole thing. And I didn't see it coming, you know. I didn't, you know, Dark Wolf, Terminal List. I mean, I saw the original, but man, Dark Wolf is amazing, is
Man.
amazing. And you and Dave and all the boys and Big Max and Jared. Oh, you know, there's that scene where Jared is in the first episode where he's in the cave and he's in his sniper position. He's so good.
So good.
Oh,
Good.
he's
I
so
know I'm worried people are going to try to poach him and take him.
I tell you, man,
We got to
be
stop giving
careful,
him these
man.
parts.
The dude pops. He pops, man.
He does.
Dude,
Around
I
that
get
campfire too. Around the campfire
Man,
too.
that campfire shit, man, was
Mhm.
great. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, bro. What a great freaking show, man. Everybody
yeah.
showed up, man.
Everybody showed up and crushed. Oh man,
It
amazing,
crushed. It
amazing.
crushed. And
And
gotta shout out to Jillo, man.
yeah,
Gotta shout out to Jillo, man.
so great.
Dave. I mean, the whole thing with a smile.
Everything. I mean, can you imagine the pressure on that guy, and he never shows it from
He
the
never,
top down, from the bottom up,
I'm
and he's
telling
that
you,
singular point of contact as the showrunner for absolutely everything, and to handle it all with
everything.
such grace and such an amazing attitude. It's remarkable.
Right. It never gets tired.
No.
I mean, I'm getting tired for him when he tells me some of the things he got to do, and he never gets tired. This is it, man. It was like really the best of what quote Hollywood does. I mean, we didn't have one bad apple in the group, and that says a lot. That says a lot. You know.
Amazing.
So
Amazing. Well, thank you for doing this. I can't think of a better way to end it than those words right there. And I mean, it really, we talk about it as team television. We talk about it as Cinevision trying to make a movie on a TV type of a timeline. And so that's really pushing cast and crew,
right.
as you know, and trying to pull this off. And it's just such an honor for me that you were a part of it, and then you absolutely crushed it. And once again, you brought this humanity and empathy to this character that maybe somebody else couldn't have because of your actions and what your end game was.
Yeah.
But you did it, and so it's such nuance, and it's just incredible to watch you work. And I really hope that, but even more than that, the friendship,
The
and that's
friendship,
sincerely appreciated,
and
and
that goes off the screen is forever,
forever, forever.
forever. Hey,
Man, thank you so much. Best wishes up there on the
yeah.
this new project. Can't wait to watch it. And man, thank you again for everything. It's just
Oh,
like I said, it's a true honor,
well,
and
thanks for inviting
hope
me
I'll
for
see you in
real.
person soon.
Okay, good to see you, brother.
All right, you take care.
Well, love.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Dark Wolf Season 1 podcast. If you like this video, check out The Fourth Option, my upcoming novel, May 12th, coming in hot, hardcover ebook and audiobook. Find the trailer here and the author insight video here.